Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, joined by these two gorgeous women, Heather and Kristen, from Bravo's new season of Real Housewives of New York. We're all so excited because it debuts tomorrow, Tuesday, April 7th at 9 p.m. So get ready for a wild ride. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and Heather Thomson is already inducting me into the Housewives earlier. I'm like what would I be, the seventh?
You'd be
The ninth.
The ninth
There's 8 of us.
housewife. There's 8 of us this season.
And I'd be the real trouble stirrer. Forget Bethany. You guys need me in there. Me and Bethany going head to head. I love Bethany, actually. But first of all, congratulations. You guys are back for another season. You have Bethany joining, which we'll talk all about.
Yeah.
And everybody is super excited. So give me spoilers. I don't even need to watch season. What should we expect?
Oh my God, so much drama. I mean, I know everybody says drama, but there's a lot of tears, good and bad. Lots of emotions flying everywhere at you.
Heather, you guys are both kind of newcomers. There's the originals, the Ramonas, the Luanns, and you guys are kind of more of the newcomers. Talk to me about, since you've joined the franchise and now that Bethany's back, talk to me about what it's been like for you, having Bethany back. What's that been like? Give me the scoop.
Well, I think the dynamic of the women now at season 7, we've had some years to build real relationships. And Kristen joining us last season, I knew Kristen before the show. So there are real relationships on the show. So that's why you see a lot of this emotion and drama, because people are kind of vested in the relationships, and having Bethany come back kind of does shake it up a little, because she's meeting new people, meeting us for the first time, so to speak, other than I did her talk show, but I didn't really know her. And then she's rekindling relationships she hasn't seen these people in like 4 years or hung out with them in like 4 years. So it's like rekindling old relationships that had old history, and then starting with some new relationships with the newer girls.
And reminiscing. They reminisce quite a bit, which is, I think, kind of be nice for the fans to see.
Yeah.
They want to go back, and you kind of have to go back to go forward, which is kind of neat in some of the relationships.
So you joined last year. Walk me through that process for yourself, because it's got to be, everybody's watched the Housewives, the New York ones, especially if you're in New York. I'm from Philly originally, but live here. Everybody knows what goes on with the New York Housewives. When you join, what did you have in terms of mentality going in, and now what's your mentality?
I mean, I'm sort of an open book anyway, so what you see is what you get. I kind of just went in with big old open arms, and I was like hoping that I'd meet some great new people, and I really did. And, some relationships, Heather and I have known each other for a very long time, so it's like our relationship got stronger, and then gained relationships with Carol and Luann. I mean, I sort of hang out with everybody, but mostly them. And then it was kind of, I think I was a little hesitant to get to know Ramona, and that proved itself to be true, the hesitation, through last season. And this season it's like she is in a completely different place, so it's interesting to see a new side of Ramona. So I feel like it'll be interesting for everybody to see where we end up this season.
I've had this conversation with Heather before, and I would be the worst reality person, because I love doing this when I'm talking to gorgeous women like you, but if I have to show my life, I was telling you guys, I literally watch Netflix on my stomach for like 12 hours. I would hate to have to share my life. For you guys, especially being business people, talk to me about having to share your life and put it in front of millions of people. I can't imagine doing it, but you guys have no problem doing it.
If you have one small opportunity to be inspirational or aspirational just to one person, if you can make a difference in one person's life, like what Kristen and Josh did, and showed some of the wrinkles in their marriage and working through it. Maybe, some other couples decided to go to a counselor. Maybe they say, hey, we sound like that, to talk about some of Jax's health challenges, to be able to talk to the world, about Yummie by Heather Thomson and what I do there. And I'm trying to build confident, clothes for confidence, for women. So the show affords us that platform, but you have to also then show the other side. And I think people get vested in the show because they get vested in us and invested in our relationships. And it's like a modern day soap opera, isn't it? So, if Kristen and I are in a fight, God forbid, the fans that watch the show, some may side with Kristen, some may side with me, some might just be like, work it out, you girls. I want you to just get back together. And so I think if you look at it from that angle, then it has all kinds of positive spins spins to it. You can look at it from the negative, but I tend to like to look at things the other way.
Was it hard putting marriage out there, children? I mean, was it an adjustment for you, or were you comfortable right off the bat?
I think I was comfortable right off the bat. I don't really, Heather last year kept saying, okay, do you want any advice? Or let me, people kept saying to you, like, did you give her any advice? And I didn't want it. I was like, I'm just going to, hang out with you girls, film when we film, and just sort of like let nature take its course. And it did. And I mean, I think, Josh and I are stronger for it. I really think it was sort of a therapy moment for us. It really was.
How often? That so many times.
Really?
People on shows. Absolutely.
You get to watch. We watched our arguments. I watched our fights. It's only one-sided. I'm only seeing what your facial expressions. I'm not seeing mine. Right. So it was positive for us. Yeah, we really worked through a lot of stuff.
When you look at the fans, you had mentioned social media, and there is positives, there are negatives. How do you deal with the social media presence? Because you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. Is it something where you feel comfortable engaging with the fans and really building that relationship? Or is it, I'm sure it can be difficult.
If someone's just nasty, just straight up mean or nasty, then I block them, because it's just like, I don't have to have those people in my life. It's almost like
can be nasty.
I know, they're mean to me sometimes, literally get a nose job, or, just really physically mean things to say. And I don't have time in my life for that. But for the constructive criticism, like someone saying, hey, maybe you weren't as encouraging to Kristen as you could have been, I want to answer that back, because I want to, tell my side of the story, or say where we wound up, or thank them for watching and being vested in the show. So, Kristen's really great at Twitter and Instagram. She's really, really good at it. And, for me, I'm learning, I still am learning how to fit it into my life, as something, because it really could be a full-time job. But I love to engage with the fans. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at the franchise, I heard Bethany in an interview recently talk about how she called it almost like a game, and it's like a game of survivors, what she equated to, something along those lines. Do you take, because you're dealing with veterans of this game, do you take away tips from that and how to really, I guess the word would be, survive better?
Yeah. I don't think so.
I don't look at it the way Bethany does. And that's that's why the show goes around like it does. Like, I don't look at it like a game. Do you know what I mean? And maybe you need to have players that look at it differently in order to make it what it is. Bravo, they're professionals at this. They've invented this, franchise, and so they know how to cast it.
Your business, Yummie. When I spoke to you last time, we were talking about Yummie. How's this impacted your business? Has it grown it? Is it given a tremendous amount of exposure?
Well, I'm sure it's helped. There's eyeballs on the brand, the exposure, of what I'm doing on the show. And when I get to talk about, like I just launched, denim at Bloomingdale's, and I show that on the show, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
So, people who are watching the show get to say, I'm going to run to Bloomingdale's and pick up some Yummie jeans. Those look great. So, of course, knowing that, you know what I mean, I can talk about the brand on the show because I am my brand is me, and it's natural, as long as I don't feel like when you're shoving it down someone's throat, it seems inauthentic. But Yummie's very authentic and real and a part of my life. And I think people maybe they're inspired to start their own business, or maybe they're just inspired to go try on my jeans. Either way, it works for me.
And avoid, what was the term we had earlier? Seam slippage.
Oh, no seam slippage.
That's an inside joke for everybody. There was I learned what seam slip. I learned about seam slippage today. Kristen, for you, when you look at the relationship part of this, anyone I've ever talked to who's been on an ensemble type show like this, it becomes a family environment. Like you'd mentioned earlier, there's fights, you get along, but it does become like a family. Talk to me about that.
I refer to it as a sorority all the time. We have our ups, our downs, our highs, our lows, but at the end of the day, we all really do care about each other. And when we need each other, even if we're in the, thick of it, if you need me or I need you or whatever it is, we're always there for each other. And I think that's what's so great about our show. Some of the other shows, it's like the girls in Beverly Hills, the sisters not even talking. I don't know if you watched that reunion, but I was like, oh, that's so sad. They're family, It's really a bummer. I think that's the beauty of our show, is that we really do tend to come full circle and try not to sweat the small stuff. So
I also think in terms of sorority, not every sorority sister gets along, right? But they're still part of the same sorority.
Yeah.
So even if we're fighting, we are still an ensemble cast. Or if two personalities just don't jive, or something happens and it bifurcates a relationship, then you get to see it either rebuild or you get to see it not rebuild. Like I think Luann and Ramona are a really good example of that. Like they never really liked each other. even though they were part of the same cast, and they would play off of each other, and it made for great television because, you know, someone was always there to give someone a dig. You know what I mean? Or, you know, and it makes fun. What's Luann going to say to Ramona, or what's Ramona going to do? And it bothered them. By the way, it wasn't easy to live through. They didn't really get along. But this season, Ramona, after going through what she's going through, actually apologizes to Luann. For her behavior.
For her. It
yes.
seems like it's been reflective.
100%.
And speaking of reflective, in addition to seam slippage, I learned the word bifurcate today.
Bifurcate.
I was like, bifurcate. I did well in college, and I have no idea what bifurcate is.
Stick with me, kid.
I'm gonna spend 2 days with Heather and walk into a restaurant and sound like Albert Einstein, and be like, the convulsion of the evolution of the
Seam slippage.
of the seam slippage of your dress. One of the things I love about the show is we see additions, subtractions. I'd mentioned, obviously, you guys being recent additions, semi-recent.
Right.
You also have another recent addition, Dorinda.
Yes.
What can we expect from Dorinda?
She's a firecracker. She jumps right in and finds her place really easily. And she had relationships with some of the other women, myself included, before filming with us. So it wasn't like she was a brand new newbie that everybody had to get to know. She really did have some history, and I think that was really great and useful because the cast did have relationships. They were coming off of relationships, so she also had them.
How much of that plays into it? I'm always fascinated because the two of you were friends before the show. Then you end up on the show together. Does the relationship change? Like, I think about it from my perspective. If I was on TV with friends of mine, I think it would appear so differently than what our friendship was like before a TV show.
I think we're stronger. I think
We are.
we're definitely closer and stronger than we were before. And it's nice to go through it with a friend, just because you have that person to confide in. And, you know, it's nice too because we have our friendship outside of the show, which is important. If you only have the show friendship, it doesn't really work. And I think it shows, you know, it shows on camera.
What was Dorinda's reaction joining the show? Was she like, holy cow?
Well, she was a big fan, you know, so she's been a Bravo fan. So she's a big fan of the Housewives franchise as it were anyway. So joining, it was like natural for her. Yeah. It's funny, we were doing interviews earlier and they said, you know, what was Bethany, you know, how's Bethany been or whatever? And she's like, well, I think it's been real good for her. And she's literally talking about it from the Bethany of the past on the show, which is, you know what I mean? Which is so funny. So she fits right in and she brings the drama and she's a very dynamic person with a lot going on in her life and a lot for people to sink their teeth into.
Greatest moment of you for having the fame? Has there been a moment where you're like, because you and I were just joking, I saw you at the Outlander premiere, and it's like all of a sudden opportunities open up that were probably never there before, or may have been there, but are now multiplied exponentially. What's been one moment that you look back on and you're like, I can't believe this happened because of this show?
I think charity. You know, it's been a year now. I got this email from a woman in my hometown, and her husband got into this horrible car accident. Long story short, they're doing this charity. Her husband is paralyzed, and she started this charity for him. And I just, you know, she reached out to me and she said, you know, would you be willing to come home to Farmington, Connecticut, and, you know, host this event? And I just thought to myself, this is exactly why I put my life out here to help others. I mean, if I can help a small portion of the population, then great, you know? And I'm so honored to be able to help in any way I can. So I think charity work is really great.
Guys, congratulations on a brand new season. It looks like a blast, and I think everybody's super excited. The addition of Bethany, and we've had Bethany in here, the addition of Bethany is going to be, I'm sure, explosive, fun, crazy, and just seeing all of you guys and the chemistry is always a blast. Congrats.
Yeah, you want to watch Tuesdays at 9. Tune in.